mattress on the freeway. The moon rises over Dog Street. Jefferson said not everything's read. Have all the lights burn out in heaven again. I never wrote the number 7.
Tom Waits is an American blues slash jazz slash experimental singer, songwriter, and musician. He started out as a jazz musician and singer in 1971, vocal jazz, and he morphed into more blues folk area. And then as time went on, he got some decidedly experimental elements going on in his music. He's created a kind of hobo slash beat poet persona. He's been incredibly successful worldwide. He's also worked as an actor. Since his first album came out in 1973, he's had 17 more. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album Real Gone by Tom Waits. Real Gone, I'll not fake the American accent. It was released in 2004 and was his 16th studio album. I think it's my first time listening to it, but between this channel, where this is the 7th Tom Waits review that I've done so far, and a previous blog that I used to review on, this is now my 12th Tom Waits review. And before I did reviews, I'd heard of him, but I hadn't really encountered his music. So Tom Waits has been a journey of discovery for me, and one that I've grown to enjoy. So he's grown on me, but this, like most of his stuff, if you're not used to Tom Waits, might rock you back on your heels a bit on the first encounter, because he has a very particular approach to things that is unusual. It's not kind of completely, it's not free jazz or anything like that. It's not totally impenetrable, but it challenges the norms in some ways. And this isn't meant to be a judgment of anybody. If you're coming to Tom Waits fresh and you don't kind of immediately like him, I'm not trying to imply that, I have superior listening taste because I've got used to Tom Waits and can listen to him. I despise that kind of elitism in music where anything that's seen as or deemed to be difficult to listen to. There are some people who will think that they are better somehow because they listen to the difficult albums and they enjoy them. Sometimes I think they enjoy them, but we'll see. Anyway, let's move off my philosophy here. Let's come on to onto this album. Actually, no, not quite. I'm going to say that while I've got used to Tom Waits, I would say that there's another person who's sort of adjacent and has some similarities, who's Captain Beefheart, and I still haven't been fully won over by Captain Beefheart, but there are similarities. I say, right, here we go. It's an album of songs. There's quite a lot of them. There's 16 of them. It's quite a long album at 70 plus minutes. And it has what I think of as, if I'm going to genre hole, it's Tom Waits. It's really hard to say that it's anything other, but I'm going to try and do a description. He always brings to mind a sort of junkyard aesthetic for me, which is things that sound like they're kind of semi-working and semi-broken. And he uses a lot of different musical sounds and instruments. On this album, he's particularly using guitars and banjos and such things like that. There's almost no keyboards here. I think the only one is a Chamberlin, which is an instrument that I don't really know particularly well, but apparently is a precursor to a mellotron. And a mellotron was a keyboard instrument that had tapes in it, and so you could get the sound of kind of like an early analog sampler. Tends to use sound of flutes or of strings or things like that. So I'm not quite sure what a Chamberlin did. Quite a lot of the sounds here with these stringed instruments is quite plucky in a way, with kind of plucked chords that reminds me of, there's a song, I kind of kept going, what does that remind me of? And I did manage to put my finger on it. It was Somebody I Used to Know by Gautier, which is a really excellent song. So there are some hip-hop element brought into this album. So particularly we've got beatboxing, but he's doing it in a very distorted way. So he's kind of pushing the sound through the microphone as he beatboxes and making it distort. It's a bit like the sort of sound that you'd get with a harmonica distorting very up close, but obviously with beatboxing. There's also bits of turntable scratching here. I don't know, and it says turntables. I don't know if there's anything but scratching in there. That's bits of snippets of music from records. I know that's what hip hop does, but I didn't spot any here that were obviously that. Some people have called this album alternative hip hop. I am going to disagree because I don't think it's got enough of the hip hop here. But I understand that when people might want something to hang their hat on in terms of Tom Waits and genre, because he's not easy to genre hole. I tend to think is Tom Waits. Musically, so the actual musical structure, actually pretty much as normal for Tom, is fairly straightforward. There's actually some nice playing on here, and it's not as unusual in terms of production and the choice of instruments as some of his. In particular, some of his uses very kind of odd percussion instruments, and this is more straightforward apart from the beatboxing, which gives it a very different feel. There's a mix of feels. It's generally quite Americana. I'm going to pull out a few just to talk about them. Dead and Lovely, nice song I like. Feels a bit like Ry Cooder at times to me. Circus is different from all the rest of the album. It's got a kind of twinkly, distorted music box sound, and then a film noir narration in it, so that's spoken word. Sins of My Father is kind of bluegrass mixed with reggae feel. There are some tracks that have got kind of what I think of as a swamp feel. There was a TV show, and I can't remember the name of the TV show that had a theme song which was "I Did a Bad Bad Thing," and it feels like that kind of swampy sound of that. So it's varied. It generally musically it has a certain looseness to it, and again, this is a Tom Waitsy kind of thing in that it's not what you'd call musically tight. It's got this kind of relaxing out, so that there's actually kind of not everybody's perfectly in time with each other in a way that works. It's fine. So singing, as always with Tom, who's got a mix of different growly and or strangled sounds. He's got quite a range of these affected voices that he puts on. There are a few songs here that sound like they might be him just singing without putting a voice on. But I don't know whether whether he's just trying to make his voice sound more normal than it naturally is. So there's, and I often kind of am struck by this thought with why has he chosen that voice for this song? What is going on in his mind? Songs, I apologise for the fact that I'm doing a lot of comparisons to other Tom Waits stuff here, which doesn't help you if you don't know his other stuff. Most of the songs here are understandable in what he's singing about. Some of them could be, on other albums, can be really kind of surreal. But this is where I can make out the words, which is maybe 50% of the time. I'm kind of following what it's about, what's going on. There's a couple of political anti-war songs. So when is this? 2004? I think we're in Iraq War at this point. There's a song about a barn. There's some failed relationship stuff and some other stuff. There are a couple of tracks that are just there to showcase his beatboxing. It's not just on those couple of tracks. He beatboxes on some of the others, but then they're called after the kind of the pattern that is beatboxing. So one of them is Chickaboom, and the other one is, I'm just looking for it. Yeah, Clang Boom Steam. There we go. So I enjoyed it. Like I said, I am starting to enjoy Tom Waits quite a bit, and this one I think is probably more approachable than some of his others, and I felt it landed. It worked well. So we've got a score of 8 here from me, which is really good. But I do confess, as I said before, he is an acquired taste. So that's what I think of this album. I'd love to know what you think of the album, so please will you let me know by leaving me a comment. But that's it from me for now. The band is dope and it's a money tune. Dance
The 7 Mile room, things are bulging out the rafters like hell.